3 years ago, my family turned their backs on me when my sister pinned a theft on me that I didn't commit a missing necklace that tore us apart, only for them to find it tangled in the dishwasher last month, proving I'd been right all along. I never thought I'd be spilling this tale, but here I am, Lucas, 26, from a quiet corner of Manitoba, reliving the storm that flipped my life upside down. We grew up in a small town near Winnipeg, in a cozy bungalow my parents, Dave and Marie, snagged when they tied the knot. It wasn't much peeling paint, a leaky roof, but it was home. Dad hauled lumber at a mill, Mom patched folks up at the local clinic, and my older sister Chloe was the golden kid who could do no wrong. Me? I was the scrappy one, always a step behind, but we were tight once racing bikes through the back roads, dodging potholes, her calling the shots while I tagged along. Things shifted as we got older. Chloe shone bright top grades, soccer star, the kind of girl who'd charm anyone with a smile. I was more laid back, decent at school but never driven like her. By high school she was pulling away, her sights set on big things, while I was happy tinkering with old radios in the garage. She landed a scholarship at UBC out in Vancouver, and I stuck around, picking up courses at Red River College, trying to figure out what I wanted. She'd breeze back for holidays, all city polish and stories of her marketing gig, while I was still crashing at home, slinging coffee at Tim Hortons, feeling like I'd never catch up. We weren't best buds anymore, but I figured we were solid family, right? That illusion shattered fast. 3 years back, Chloe got engaged to Nick, a hotshot lawyer from a loaded family in Toronto. He popped the question with a necklace, some heirloom with a fat sapphire that sparkled like ice. Chloe flaunted it like a trophy, and my folks threw a blowout party in our backyard, string lights, folding tables, half the town crammed in. I stuck to the sidelines with my old hockey buddies, sipping beers, feeling out of place among Nick's slick city crew. A month later, the bomb dropped. It was a snowy Tuesday, the kind where the wind cuts right through you. I was off work, holed up in my room blasting music, when Chloe stormed in from a wedding shopping trip with Mom. She'd been crashing at home for a week, planning her big day. I heard her laughing downstairs. Then a scream ripped through the house. I bolted down, boots thumping, and found her in the kitchen, red-faced and wild-eyed. "Where's my necklace, Lucas?" she yelled, hands shaking. She'd taken it off to scrub pots, left it by the sink, and now it was gone. I blinked, confused. "I didn't touch it. What are you on about?" "She didn't buy it," her voice climbing. "You were the only one here. You've always hated that I'm doing better. You probably swiped it to pawn it. Get out of this dump." I laughed, shocked, but she kept going, venom in every word. Mom and Dad walked in right then, snow still on their coats, and Chloe spun her tale. To my gut punch horror, they swallowed it whole. Mom's eyes welled up, voice cracking. "How could you, Lucas?" Dad just stared, jaw tight like I'd stabbed him in the back. They tore my room apart, drawers dumped, mattress flipped. No necklace, but they found my stash, $600 I'd scraped together from tips, dreaming of a car. Chloe pounced. "See? He sold it already." I tried explaining months of double shifts, saving every dime, but their faces were stone. Dad's voice was low, lethal. "You've got one chance to come clean." I swore I didn't take it, begged them to believe me, but it was like yelling into a void. Chloe kept pushing, saying I'd always been jealous, a dead-end kid with no spine. By nightfall, the house was a war zone, Mum sobbing, Dad pacing, Chloe glaring like I was trash. The next day, they called the cops. 2 officers showed up, poking around, asking questions. I stuck to my story, sweating bullets, but they didn't arrest me, no proof, they said. Still, my family didn't budge. For a week, it was hell, constant interrogations, Chloe whispering poison, my parents icing me out. Then the ultimatum hit. Dad cornered me in the kitchen, eyes hard. "We can't live with a thief. Pack your stuff, you're out in 2 days." Mum wouldn't even look at me, just nodded, tears streaking her face. I stood there, numb, the floor dropping out. "You're serious?" I croaked. Dad turned away. "Go." I had nowhere most buddies, had split town after high school, chasing jobs in the oil sands or down south. My old pal Jake, back from a stint in the forces, offered his couch in his cramped Winnipeg flat. I crammed my life into a duffel jeans, a laptop, a faded photo of us fishing as kids, and walked out. Chloe watched from her window, her face flickering with something guilt, maybe. Before she ducked away, the door slammed shut behind me, cutting off the only home I'd known. I was 23, broke, and branded a liar by the people who'd raised me. Those first months were brutal. Jake's place was a lifeline, but tiny, his boots by the door, my bag on the floor, no room to breathe. I bounced between there and Fleabag motels, scraping cash from dishwashing gigs, shoveling snow, anything to eat. The cold bit deep that winter, my breath fogging as I hauled trash bags or scrubbed greasy pans. Eventually I landed steady work at a lumber yard outside town, backbreaking, hauling planks, till my shoulders screamed. But it paid. I rented a room in a drafty house with 3 other guys rough around the edges, but decent. We'd crack beers after shifts, watch Jets games, and I started to claw my way up. No calls from home, no apologies, just silence. I cut them off, deleted Mom's pleading voicemails, ignored Dad's curt texts. They were dead to me. 3 years I built that life, promoted to yard foreman, night classes in mechanics, a beat-up truck I fixed myself. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, earned through grit. Then, last month, an email from Dad cracked the dam. "Found the necklace, dishwasher. We're sorry." My hands shook as I read it. Chloe had knocked it into the machine doing dishes. Lodged in the gears, plumber fished it out when it jammed. They'd known for weeks. Too ashamed to call sooner. Rage hit first, 3 years of exile. And it was that simple? Then a hollow ache, my family, my home, lost over a lie. They begged me to meet, Chloe texting non-stop, sobbing apologies. I stewed for days, torn between fury and a nagging pull to hear them out. Finally, I agreed a diner halfway to Winnipeg, neutral ground. I got there early, coffee cooling in my grip, nerves jangling. They walked in like ghosts, Mom thinner, grey streaking her hair, Dad hunched, eyes sunken, Chloe pale, avoiding my gaze. Mom broke first, rushing me with a hug I dodged, her tears soaking the air. "We were wrong, Lucas," she choked. Dad's voice was gravel. "I failed you. Thought I knew justice, lost my son instead." Chloe crumbled, words spilling. "I was scared. Jealous, thought you'd ruin my perfect life. I'm so sorry." I sat, fists clenched, as they poured it out, regret, shame, excuses. Mom kept my room frozen in time. Dad replayed that week like a curse. Chloe admitted she'd envied my quiet freedom. It stirred old memories, her shielding me from bullies, us laughing till we cried, but the hurt drowned it. "You threw me out," I said, voice steady but sharp. Believed her without a shred of proof. "I was alone 3 years because of you." They flinched, no defense left. I didn't forgive, not then, just stood, told them I needed time, and walked out, Mum's sob echoing behind me. Back home, I wrestled with it. Could I trust them? Did I want them back? I'd built something solid, independent, but the kid in me missed Sunday pancakes, Dad's dumb jokes. Days later, I called Dad. "I'm not ready to come home," I said, "but I'll talk once a month, my rules. Take it or leave it." He took it, voice cracking with relief. Chloe got silence. I wasn't there yet. Therapy started soon after. A gruff guy in Winnipeg, peeling back the layers. Anger, betrayal, the sting of always being second to her. It hurt, but it helped. Then came the twist. A week back, Jake burst in, wild-eyed. "Lucas, your sister's here outside now!" I stepped onto the porch and there was Chloe disheveled, clutching that damn necklace, eyes red. "They're after me," she gasped. "Nick's family lawyers, mob ties. I pawned it to pay a debt, they found out. Think I've got more. They're coming." My blood ran cold. Nick's slick clan, connected, ruthless. Headlights flared down the street, a black sedan creeping closer. "Get inside," I snapped, shoving her in, locking the door. Jake grabbed his old service rifle. I dialed Paul a mill buddy with RCMP ties. "Mob's here," I barked. "Help!" The sedan stopped, two suits stepping out, big, mean, one cracking his knuckles. Chloe whimpered, "They'll kill me." A window shattered glass sprayed. A brick thudding inside with a note. "Necklace or blood? Now." I grabbed a crowbar. Jake aimed, and we waited. Breath held. Tires screeched. Paul's truck roared up, lights flashing, two cops behind him. "Drop it!" he yelled, gun drawn. The suits froze, then bolted, peeling out as sirens wailed. Paul stormed in, grim. "Nick's uncle's dirty runs a ring out east. They're mad about the necklace, think it's leverage. You're in it now, Lucas." Chloe sobbed, shoving the sapphire into my hands. "I didn't know, I'm sorry." I stared at it, the root of all this, and tossed it to Paul. "Get rid of it." Evidence. He nodded, promising to bury Nick's crew deep. Chloe stayed that night, shaking, but I sent her packing at dawn back to Mom and Dad, out of my life. They're safe now. Paul says mob's off their trail, necklace gone. I moved last week, new job. Logistics gig in Saskatoon. Bigger pay, fresh start. Dad calls, Mom writes, Chloe's quiet. Therapy keeps me steady, and I've got Jake, Paul, a crew that's real. That bungalow's a memory painful, but mine. I'm not the kid they ditched anymore, I'm Lucas. Forged in fire, standing tall, and no one's taking that away. A couple of weeks after the mob's tires screeched out of my life in Winnipeg, I thought I'd finally caught a break. The new job in Saskatoon was solid, managing a logistics crew that hauled freight across the prairies, and the pay let me snag a decent one-bedroom apartment with a view of the river. I was settling in, unpacking boxes, even cracking a beer with my new neighbour, Sam, a laid-back guy who drove a snowplow in winter. Dad's calls kept coming, steady as ever, full of small talk about the mill and Mom's latest baking spree. Chloe stayed quiet, holed up with them back in Manitoba, and I liked it that way. Paul checked in too, swearing Nick's uncle and his goons were locked down tight. No chance of them sniffing me out again. I started to breathe easier, thinking maybe the storm had blown itself out for good. That hope didn't last. It was a chilly Friday night, the kind where the wind rattles the windows and you're glad to be inside, with a pizza and the TV on low. I was sprawled on the couch, half watching a Jets game, when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown number. My gut twisted, but I picked it up, voice sharp. "Yeah, who's this?" A low chuckle rolled through, familiar and icy. "Lucas, you're a hard kid to shake. Rourke here." My blood froze. Rourke, the slick suit from that plaza fight in Lethbridge, the one Paul swore was rotting in a cell 5 provinces away. "You're supposed to be locked up," I said, sitting up, eyes darting to the locked door. He laughed again, slow and mean. "Friends in high places, kid. I'm out, and I've got a score to settle. Check your window." I stumbled to my feet, pizza box sliding to the floor, and yanked the blinds up. Across the street, under a flickering streetlight, a figure leaned against a black sedan, face shadowed but staring right at me. My throat tightened. "What do you want?" I barked into the phone, hand gripping the edge of the counter. Rourke's voice was smooth, venomous. "You and your little family cost me big." That necklace? Just the start. I want payback, and I'm close enough to smell you. 48 hours, Lucas. 50 grand, or I torch everything you've got left. The line clicked dead, and the figure across the street flicked a cigarette into the gutter, climbed into the sedan, and peeled off. I stood there, heart slamming, the room spinning. 50 grand. I didn't have half that, not after the move, the truck, the years of scraping by. Rourke wasn't some low-life thug like Scar. He was a predator, patient and connected, and now he was here, in my city. I bolted to the door, double-checked the locks, then called Paul, hands shaking as I dialed. He picked up fast, voice groggy. "Lucas, what's wrong?" I spilled it, Rourke's call, the sedan, the threat. Paul swore, loud and sharp. "He's out? I'll check with my guy, but if he's in Saskatoon, he's got eyes on you already." "Stay put, I'm driving up now." He hung up before I could argue, leaving me pacing the apartment, every creak of the building sounding like footsteps. Next, I called Dad. He answered mid-laugh, probably with Mom over dinner, but his tone shifted when he heard me. "Lucas, you okay?" I told him everything, voice tight, and he went dead silent. "That bastard," he growled finally. "I'm grabbing Chloe, we're coming to you. No way you're facing this alone." I tried to stop him. The roads were icy, and Chloe was a wild card, but he cut me off. "We're family, Lucas. On our way." The line dropped, and I was left staring at the phone, a mix of dread and warmth churning inside. I texted Sam next door. "Trouble's back, keep an eye out." He replied quick, "Got your back, man." Sleep didn't come. I sat by the window, blinds cracked, watching the empty street, a kitchen knife on the table beside me. Dawn broke grey and cold, and Paul's truck rolled in first, kicking up slush as he parked. He stormed up, jacket open, pistol tucked in his belt. "Rourke bribed his way out," he said, tossing a coffee my way. "My contact's furious, says he's got a new crew, tighter, meaner. That call wasn't a bluff, he's here." I showed him the spot where the sedan had idled, and his jaw tightened. "We've got a day to figure this. I'll call in a favor, get local cops looped in quiet." I nodded, trusting him, but the clock was ticking. Dad and Chloe pulled up an hour later, the hatchback rattling like it might not make another trip. Dad hugged me hard, his beard scratchy against my cheek, and Chloe lingered behind, eyes red, clutching a bag. "I'm sorry, Lucas," she mumbled, barely audible. "This is my mess again." I didn't soften. "Yeah, it is. But you're here, so help or stay out of my way." She nodded, swallowing hard. We crammed into my tiny living room, Paul sketching a plan on a napkin. He wants a meet, we give him one, but we control it. "Riverbank Park, tomorrow noon, open sight lines. I'll have my guy ready. Unmarked car nearby." We end this. The day dragged, tension thick as we prepped. Sam joined us, bringing a tire iron and a grim grin. "Heard you're in deep, figured I'd pitch in." Chloe offered up her savings, 3 grand from her diner job, a peace offering I didn't touch. Paul rigged a decoy bag, stuffed with paper, while Dad sharpened that old hunting knife from Jen. Night fell, and we took shifts watching the street, Rourke's deadline looming like a noose. At 11 a.m., we rolled out, Paul's truck leading, me and Dad in the hatchback, Chloe and Sam behind. The park was quiet, joggers and dog walkers thinning out as noon crept closer. I stood by the river, wind biting my face, the fake cash at my feet. Paul and Dad 10 yards back, Sam and Chloe in the trees. Rourke showed at 12:03, stepping from that sedan alone, suit crisp, eyes glinting like a wolf's. "Lucas," he called, voice carrying over the water. "You've got guts. Where's my money?" I kicked the bag forward, steady as I could. "Take it and go. We're done here." Rourke smirked, strolling closer, hands in his pockets. "Done, kid, you don't decide that." He bent to grab the bag, And that's when it hit the fan. A van screeched around the bend, tires smoking, 3 guys piling out with bats and a glint of steel. Paul shouted, drawing his gun, "Back off!" But Rourke just laughed, pulling a sleek pistol from his coat. "You brought friends?" So did I. I dove behind a bench as a shot cracked, splintering wood inches from my head. Dad lunged at Rourke, knife flashing, catching his arm with a grunt of effort. Blood sprayed. Rourke snarled, and they hit the ground, wrestling in the mud. Sam charged the van crew, tire iron swinging, cracking one guy's knee with a sick thud. Chloe screamed, darting out from the trees, hurling rocks at another thug who'd raised a bat at Paul. I scrambled up, tackling the third, my shoulder slamming him into the dirt. His gun skidded away and I pinned him, fists flying till he stopped moving. Paul fired again, a warning into the air, and the van guys froze as sirens wailed closer, his cop buddy roaring in, lights flashing. "Drop it now!" a voice boomed, and boots hit the ground, uniforms swarming. Rourke kicked Dad off, staggering up, gun raised at me, eyes wild. "You're dead, Lucas." He didn't finish. Paul tackled him hard, gun clattering free, and 2 cops piled on, cuffing him as he spat curses. The van crew bolted, but squad cars cut them off, tires squealing. I crawled to Dad, his coat torn, blood seeping from a shallow cut on his arm. "I'm fine," he rasped, gripping my hand. Chloe rushed over, sobbing, "I'm so sorry." And for once I didn't push her away. Sam limped up, grinning through a split lip. "Hell of a welcome to the neighborhood, eh?" Paul hauled Rourke to his feet, the suit now mud-streaked and raging, as cops shoved him into a car. The park cleared fast, bystanders gawking, phones out, cops barking orders. Paul's buddy, a stocky guy named Carter, clapped my shoulder. "Rourke's done. Caught him red-handed plus the call logs from last night. He's not slithering out this time." I nodded, chest still heaving, watching the sedan get towed off. We patched up at my place, Dad's arm bandaged, Sam icing his lip, Chloe brewing coffee no one drank. Paul stayed till the cops called Rourke's crew was tied to a bigger bust in Vancouver, enough to lock them away for decades. "You're clear," he said, grabbing his keys. "Live your life, kid." That night we sat around my scratched-up table, quiet at first. Dad broke it, voice rough. "I should have believed you back then, Lucas. Never again." Chloe nodded, eyes down. "I messed up everything, Nick, the necklace, all of it. I'll spend my life fixing it if you let me." I looked at them, the family I'd lost and found, and something shifted. "We start slow," I said, "no more lies." They agreed, and for the first time in years I felt the weight ease, not gone, but bearable. A month later, I'm still in Saskatoon, the job humming along, my crew solid. Dad's back at the mill, Mom mails me cookies, Chloe's waitressing and saving up, texting me dumb memes to test the waters. Sam's my go-to for hockey nights, and Paul swings by when he's east. Rourke's face haunts the odd dream, but he's a ghost now, buried in concrete and steel. I walk the riverbank sometimes, the park just a memory of chaos, and toss pebbles into the current. A few weeks after Rourke's crew got hauled off in handcuffs, life in Saskatoon started to feel like it might stick this time. The logistics job kept me busy, barking orders over the rumble of forklifts, and I was getting the hang of the city grabbing coffee at the same hole-in-the-wall spot, nodding to the regulars. My apartment was home now. A couple plants Sam insisted I'd kill thriving on the windowsill, despite my doubts. Dad was back to his routine in Manitoba, sending me grainy pics of his latest fishing haul, and Chloe was still slinging plates at that diner, her texts more frequent, lighter, like she was testing if I'd bite. I did sometimes short replies, to keep the line open. Paul called once, voice gruff with relief, saying Rourke's trial was fast-tracked, life sentences all around, no parole. I let myself think it was over, that the past was finally just a story I'd tell over beers someday. That illusion cracked on a damp Thursday morning. I was headed to work, scarf tucked against the wind, when a guy bumped me hard on the sidewalk, stocky, buzz cut, eyes flicking away too fast. "Sorry, bud," he muttered, but his hand brushed my coat pocket, and I felt it a slip of paper. I kept walking, pulse spiking, then ducked into an alley and fished it out. A torn scrap, scrawled in black ink. "You didn't win. Watch your back." My stomach dropped. Rourke was gone. His crew was toast, so who was this? I scanned the street, but Buzzcut had melted into the crowd. My hands shook as I stuffed the note in my jeans, every face around me suddenly a threat. I called Paul from the warehouse break room, voice low over the hum of machinery. "Got a note today, someone's still pissed. Rourke's people?" He swore, loud enough the line crackled. "Shouldn't be. They're buried," checked myself. Could be a straggler, someone he owed, or a new player sniffing blood. "You see the guy?" I described Buzzcut, and Paul grunted. "I'll dig. But lock down, Lucas. Tell your folks, keep Sam close." I hung up, dread pooling, and texted Dad. Trouble again, note in my pocket, stay sharp. His reply was instant, on it, coming tomorrow. Chloe's came next. "What's happening? I'm scared." I shot back, "Stay put, I'll call." I didn't sleep that night, the note burning a hole in my pocket. Every creak of the apartment building sounding like boots on the stairs. I kept the lights low, knife on the table, eyes glued to the street below. Sam banged on my door at midnight, tire iron in hand, after I'd filled him in. "You're not sitting here alone, man," he said, dropping onto the couch with a beer he'd brought. "Whoever this is, they're messing with the wrong guy." I nodded, grateful, but the unease wouldn't shake. Dawn crept in, grey and heavy, and Dad's hatchback rolled up right on time, Chloe in the passenger seat, her face pale against the window. They piled in, Dad's jaw set, Chloe clutching a duffel like she was ready to bolt. "Show me the note," he demanded, and I handed it over. He read it, eyes narrowing, then passed it to Chloe. She bit her lip, voice small. "This is because of me, isn't it? Nick's family, the necklace keeps coming back." I didn't answer, just looked at Dad. "Paul's checking," I said. "Could be Rourke's leftovers, or something new. Either way, they know where I am." Dad rubbed his beard, thinking. "We don't wait for them to hit first. We move, figure out who's behind it, and shut it down." Paul called an hour later, voice tight. "Buzzcut's a hired hand lowlife named Tanner, works for whoever pays. My guy in Vancouver says Rourke's old network splintered when he went down. Someone's picking up the pieces and they've got your name, Lucas. Revenge or leverage, doesn't matter, they're coming." I put him on speaker and Dad leaned in. "Where are they now?" Paul paused. "Tanner was spotted in Regina yesterday, heading west. Could be in Saskatoon by tonight." Chloe whimpered and Sam cracked his knuckles. "Let 'em try." We hatched a plan fast. Paul was still hours out, so we'd hold the fort till he got here. Sam ran to his place, grabbed a hunting rifle he kept locked up, while Dad rigged the door with a chair wedged under the knob. Chloe dug through her bag, pulling out a can of pepper spray. "I've carried it since Regina," she said, handing it to me. I took it, meeting her eyes scared but steady. "Stay by the window," I told her. "Yell if you see anything." She nodded, posting up with a view of the street. The day dragged, tension thick as fog. I kept the note in my fist, rereading it, every word a taunt. By dusk, the city hummed outside cars, laughter, normal life mocking ours. Then Chloe hissed, "Lucas, their black truck, slow." I joined her, peering through the blinds. A pickup idled across the street, Tinted windows, no plates visible. Buzzcut stepped out, hoodie up, lighting a smoke like he had all the time in the world. 2 more guys followed, bigger, one with a bat tapping his leg. My pulse hammered. "They're here," I said, loud enough for Dad and Sam to hear. Dad grabbed the knife, Sam the rifle, and I clutched the crowbar I'd kept from Winnipeg. "No one gets in," Dad growled, taking the door. Sam aimed from the kitchen, sightline clear through the window. I stood by Chloe, pepper spray ready, watching Buzzcut flick his cigarette and nod to his crew. They crossed the street, casual but purposeful, heading straight for my building. The buzzer rang once, sharp and ugly, then silence. A thud echoed below, someone kicking the lobby door. "They're forcing it," Chloe whispered, voice breaking. Footsteps pounded up the stairs, heavy and fast. Sam cocked the rifle, Dad braced against the door, and I shoved Chloe behind me. The knob rattled, then a fist slammed it once, twice. "Lucas!" Buzzcut's voice cut through, muffled but close. "Open up or we bust it down," I shouted back. "Walk away or you're done." A laugh, then a crack as the doorframe splintered. Sam fired through the window, a warning shot shattering glass across the street, and the banging stopped. "Crazy bastard," one of them yelled, but they didn't retreat. The door buckled with a third hit, the chair skidding, and Dad roared, slashing as Buzzcut's arm shoved through. Blood sprayed, a curse rang out, and the arm yanked back. I lunged, spraying pepper spray through the gap, hearing choked gasps outside. Tires squealed, Paul's truck barreled up, lights blazing, and he leapt out, gun drawn, with 2 local cops behind him. "Freeze!" he bellowed, and the hallway erupted shouts, boots scrambling, a bat clattering down the stairs. Sam fired again, clipping the truck's tire as it tried to peel out. Paul and the cops stormed in, dragging Buzzcut and 1 thug from the hall, both coughing, bloodied. The third bolted, but a squad car cut him off 2 blocks down. I opened the door, crowbar still tight in my grip, and Paul grinned, holstering his gun. Tanner's singing already says a guy named Voss took Rourke's scraps, wants you as a trophy. He's in Regina, but not for long. Dad clapped Paul's shoulder. Chloe sank against the wall, and Sam lowered the rifle, laughing. Hell of a night. Cops swarmed the building, lights flashing, neighbours peeking from cracked doors. Tanner spilled everything Voss was a mid-tier player, obsessed with Rourke's legacy, targeting me to prove a point. Paul's crew tracked Voss that night, raiding a dive bar in Regina by dawn. They hauled him in, bleary-eyed and raging, his operation crumbling before it started. Evidence piled up texts, cash trails, enough to bury him beside Rourke. "You're clean," Paul said, crashing on my couch after. "For real this time." Weeks later, I'm still here, Saskatoon's my turf now, job humming, apartment a fortress. Dad's fixing up the trailer, Chloe's waitressing and talking college, her guilt easing into something like trust. Sam's my shadow, rifle stashed but ready, and Paul's a call away. Voss's note sits framed on my shelf, a reminder I beat the odds. I walk the river at dusk, wind in my face, and feel it. I'm Lucas, unbroken, rooted deep. They came for me and I stood taller. That's where it ends, with me still standing, and no one left to take a swing. A month after Voss's crew got dragged off my doorstep, Saskatoon started to feel like a place I could plant roots without looking over my shoulder every 5 minutes. The logistics gig was steady, my crew running like a well-oiled machine, and I'd even splurged on a decent chair for the apartment, something that didn't creak every time I sat down. Sam was over most nights, cracking beers and trash-talking my hockey picks, while Dad's calls turned into long rambles about fixing the boat he'd bought cheap off a buddy. Chloe was sticking to her diner job, sending me pics of her latest baking attempts lumpy cookies, but she was trying. Paul swung by once, all gruff nods and a bottle of rye, swearing Voss and Rourke's leftovers were history, locked up tighter than a bank vault. I let myself settle, let the quiet sink in, thinking maybe I'd outrun the chaos for good. That bubble popped on a crisp Saturday afternoon. I was at the warehouse double-checking a shipment of lumber headed north when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, expecting Sam or Dad, but the screen just said blocked. My stomach twisted, that old familiar dread clawing up. I answered, voice low over the forklift rumble. "Who's this?" A pause, then a woman's voice, cool, clipped, with an edge I couldn't place. "Lucas, right? You've been a busy boy, haven't you?" I stepped outside, wind whipping my jacket, and kept my tone hard. "Cut the games. What do you want?" She laughed, sharp and short. "Name's Lena. You took down Rourke, Voss impressive. Problem is, you left a mess and I'm the one cleaning it up. Meet me tonight, 9 p.m., old grain elevator off Highway 16. Come alone, or I start digging where it hurts." The line went dead before I could snap back. I stood there, gravel crunching under my boots, the words sinking in. Lena, whoever she was, knew too much, and that digging bit sounded like a threat with teeth. I called Paul first, catching him mid-shift in Calgary. "Lena?" he echoed, voice tight. No bells ringing, but if she's tied to Rourke's world, she's bad news. "Could be a fixer. Someone higher up the chain. Don't go, Lucas, wait for me. I'll be there by morning." I told him I'd think it over, but the clock was ticking and sitting still felt like handing her the reins. Dad was next. He picked up on the second ring, mid-story about a fish that got away. "Lucas, you good?" I laid it out Lena's call, the meat, the vibe that screamed trouble. He swore, loud and rough, "No way you're going solo. I'm grabbing Chloe, we're driving up now." I tried to argue Highway 16 was a lonely stretch, no place for them, but he bulldozed right over me. "You're my kid. We're in this." Chloe texted right after, "I'm coming too. Don't do anything dumb till we're there." I cursed under my breath, but part of me was glad they'd have my back, whether I liked it or not. Sam was at my place when I got home, sprawled on the couch with a pizza box open. I tossed him the story, and he sat up, wiping grease off his hands. "Grain elevator? That's a trap if I ever heard one. I'm in, rifles loaded." I didn't fight him on it. Sam was solid, and I'd need every edge. We waited till Dad and Chloe rolled in, the hatchback coughing into the lot, just past 7. Dad hugged me quick, eyes scanning the room like he expected Lena to pop out of the shadows. Chloe hovered, nervous but firm. "I owe you, Lucas. Let me help." I nodded, too wide to argue, and we piled around the table, mapping it out. The elevator was a rusted hulk 10 miles out, surrounded by flat fields, and not much else perfect for an ambush. Sam suggested a scout run, get eyes on it before 9, and Dad backed him. "We go early, see what she's got waiting." Paul called again, stuck in traffic near Regina, voice crackling. "I'm pushing it, but I won't make 9. Stall her if you can, don't trust a word." We loaded up Sam with the rifle, Dad with his knife, me with the crowbar and Chloe's pepper spray. She insisted on a flashlight, hands shaky but grip tight. "I'll watch the road," she said, and I let her have it. We hit the highway at 8, sky bruising purple, the elevator looming like a ghost against the horizon. Sam parked a quarter-mile back behind a ditch, and we crept closer on foot, boots sinking in damp earth. The place was dead quiet. No cars, no lights, just the wind whistling through broken boards. I signaled Sam to circle left, Dad right, while Chloe and I held the center, crouched low. My watch hit 8:50 when headlights flared a sleek grey SUV rolling up slow, stopping 50 yards out. A woman stepped from the driver's side, tall, dark hair pulled tight, leather jacket catching the last of the dusk. Lena, I figured, and she wasn't alone. Two guys climbed out after her, lean and mean, one with a shotgun, the other cracking his neck like he was itching for a fight. She called out, voice carrying sharp over the field. "Lucas, I know you're there. Don't waste my time." I stood, crowbar in hand, stepping into view, Dad and Sam tightening their positions unseen. "You wanted me, I'm here," I shouted back. "What's this about?" She smirked, pacing closer, stopping just out of reach. "You've got a knack for breaking things Rourke's empire, Voss's dreams. I'm what's left, the one who ties up loose ends. Hand over your sister and I might let you walk." My blood ran cold. Chloe, the target, not me. I glanced back, her flashlight beam trembling in the dark, and gritted my teeth. She's not part of this. You want me? Deal with me. Lena laughed, nodding to her guys, and they fanned out, weapons up. She's the spark Nick's debt, that necklace, all roads lead to her. Give her up or we take you all. Dad burst from the shadows then, knife flashing as he tackled shotgun, both hitting the dirt hard. Sam fired from the left, a crack that sent Neckcracker ducking, and I charged Lena, crowbar swinging. She sidestepped, quick as a snake, pulling a blade from her sleeve that caught my arm, hot pain searing through. I stumbled, spraying pepper spray wild, and she hissed, clawing at her eyes. The field exploded, gunshots, shouts, Chloe screaming as she ran up, flashlight blinding Neckcracker long enough for Sam to slam the rifle butt into his skull. Dad wrestled shotgun's weapon free, pinning him with a knee to the chest. Lena recovered fast, lunging at me again, but I caught her wrist, twisting till the blade dropped. She snarled, kneeing my gut, and we went down, rolling in the mud, fists flying. Headlights blazed, Paul's truck roared in, skidding to a stop, and he leapt out, gun barking. "Drop it!" he yelled, and Lena froze, my arm locked around her throat. Her guys were down, shotgun cuffed by Dad, Neckcracker out cold from Sam. Paul hauled Lena up, zip-tying her wrists as she spat curses. "You're nothing," she hissed at me, but her eyes were wild, cornered. Cops swarmed in behind Paul, lights flashing, taking the trio away in a blur of shouts and slamming doors. Dad hugged Chloe tight, her sobs muffled against his coat, and Sam clapped my back, grinning through a bloody nose. "Told you, wrong guy to mess with." Paul filled us in later. Back at my place, Lena was Rourke's silent partner, running cash through Vancouver's underbelly. Furious, I'd torched her world by proxy. "She's the last thread," he said, nursing a coffee. "No one's left to chase you now." We crashed there, sprawled across the apartment, too wired to sleep. Morning came, and Dad cooked eggs, Chloe burned toast, and we laughed raw, real, like a family clawing back from the edge. I'm still in Saskatoon, job humming, life steady. Dad's boat's afloat, Chloe's baking's edible, and Sam's my rock. Lena's locked deep, her threats dust. I walk the river sometimes, wind in my hair, and feel it I'm Lucas, forged in fights I didn't pick, standing tall with a crew that won't break. They came for us and we sent them packing. That's the story, etched in scars and grit, and I'm damn sure it's mine to keep. A few months after Lena's crew got hauled off in the muddy chaos of that grain elevator fight, Saskatoon started to feel like more than just a place I'd landed. It was starting to feel like mine. The logistics job had me running a tight ship, barking orders over the clatter of crates and the whine of truck engines, and I'd earned a nod from the boss for keeping things smooth. My apartment was a proper home now, with a second-hand couch Sam helped me drag up, 3 flights and a stack of books I actually had time to crack open. Dad was back in Manitoba, tinkering with that boat and sending me blurry pics of sunsets over the lake, while Chloe was sticking with her diner gig, texting me recipes she swore I'd botch. Sam was a fixture, showing up with takeout and wild stories from his snowplow shifts, and Paul called now and then, voice gruff but warm, saying the last of Rourke's world was ashes, no one left to stir the pot. I let myself lean into it, the quiet days, the steady rhythm, thinking maybe I'd finally outrun the ghosts. That calm shattered on a biting Tuesday night in late fall. I was locking up the warehouse, the sky spitting sleet, when a shadow moved fast across the lot, a guy in a dark coat, hood up, ducking behind a stack of pallets. I froze, keys biting into my palm, and called out, "Hey, who's there?" No answer, just the crunch of boots on gravel. Then he was gone, swallowed by the dark. My gut screamed trouble, but I shook it off. Could have been a drifter, a kid messing around. I got home, shook the wet off my coat, and was cracking a beer when my phone buzzed. Blocked number. My blood chilled. I answered, voice sharp. "Yeah?" A man's voice came through, low and rough, accented Eastern European. "Maybe. Lucas, you've got a talent for surviving. Too bad it's wasted on you. Check your mailbox." I bolted downstairs, boots slipping on the icy steps, and yanked open the box. Inside was a photo me, Dad, and Chloe at the diner last month, snapped from across the street. Our faces circled in red ink. Under it, a scrawled note, 1 week, 75K, or they're gone first. My hands shook, the sleet soaking the paper, and I scanned the street empty, just the hiss of wind and the glow of streetlights. This wasn't Rourke, Voss, or Lena. This was new, colder, deeper. I ran back up, locked the door, and called Paul, breath ragged. He picked up fast. "Lucas, what's up?" I told him the shadow, the call, the photo, the demand. He swore, loud and sharp. "That's not local. Sounds like cartel, maybe Russian. Rourke's mess might have caught bigger fish. I'm coming, but get your people safe now." Dad was next. He answered mid-laugh, probably with Mom over supper, but his tone hardened when I spilled it. "Another one? Christ, Lucas, I'm packing, we're there tomorrow." Chloe's voice cut in, shaky. "I heard don't go alone, please." I told them to move fast, stay off the main roads if they could. Sam banged on my door 10 minutes later, eyes wide after my frantic text. "What now?" he asked, stepping in with his rifle case. I showed him the photo, the note, and he whistled low. 75 grand? These guys don't play small. I'm with you, let's figure it out. We sat, tension thick, waiting for Dad and Chloe, every car outside making us jump. They rolled in at dawn, the hatchback coated in slush, Dad's face set like stone, Chloe clutching a bag with that pepper spray peeking out. "Show me," Dad said, and I handed over the soaked note. He read it, jaw twitching, then looked at me. "This ends, Lucas, no more running." Chloe nodded, voice small but firm. "I'm not hiding, I'll fight too." Sam cracked a grim smile. "Good, 'cause we're outnumbered till Paul gets here." My phone buzzed again. Paul, stuck an hour out in a storm. "Got a name," he said, voice cutting through static. "Dimitri ex-KGB, runs a crew out of Toronto. Rourke owed him big, and you're the payback. He's ruthless. Lucas, don't meet him till I'm there. We didn't have a choice." That night the phone rang again, same blocked number. I answered, Sam recording on his phone. "Time's ticking, Lucas," Dimitri said, his accent thick, words slow. "Midnight tomorrow, quarry off 51st Street. Bring the cash or I start with the girl." I gripped the table, keeping my voice steady. "You'll get nothing if you touch them. I'll be there." He laughed, a sound like gravel grinding. "Smart boy. Alone or they bleed." The line died and Chloe paled, Dad cursing under his breath. "We're not paying," he said. "We take him down." Sam nodded, loading the rifle. "Quarry's a death trap, open ground, no cover. We need a plan." We mapped it fast. Paul would hit town by morning, but midnight was too close. Sam knew the quarry, a gravel pit ringed by cliffs, used to sneak beers as a kid. "Back road in," he said. "We flank 'em." Dad and Chloe would hang back, eyes on the highway, while Sam and I went in early, scoping it. I hated splitting us, but Dimitri's alone was a lie he'd bring muscle. We grabbed what we had: rifle, knife, crowbar, a flare gun Sam dug from his truck. Light 'em up if it goes south, he said, tossing it to me. Night fell heavy, the storm rattling windows, and we rolled out at 11, headlights off, creeping through back roads. The quarry loomed, a black scar under the clouds, gravel crunching under our boots, as we split Sam to the ridge, me to the pit's edge. A sedan idled below, exhaust fogging the air, and Dimitri stepped out, tall grey coat, face carved from stone. 3 guys followed, armed to the teeth pistols, a shotgun, one with a chain swinging loose. "Lucas," he called, voice booming, "cash or corpses, your pick." I stepped into view, empty-handed, crowbar tucked behind me. "No cash," I shouted. "You're done here." He smirked, raising a hand, and his crew fanned out, weapons glinting. Sam's rifle cracked first, a shot kicking dirt at Dimitri's feet, and I dove as return fire lit the night. Dad's hatchback roared in from the back road, headlights blinding, Chloe hurling a brick that smashed a windshield. I swung the crowbar, catching Chain Guy's knee, dropping him with a howl. Dimitri fired, a bullet grazing my shoulder, hot and sharp, but I tackled him, slamming him into the gravel. Sam took out shotgun with a clean shot, and Dad rammed Pistol Guy with the car door, pinning him. Chloe sprayed pepper spray wild, screams echoing as Dimitri clawed at me, fists like hammers. Headlights flared, Paul's truck barreled in, skidding across the pit, and he leapt out, gun blazing. "Down!" he roared, and Dimitri's crew crumpled, 2 dead, 1 out cold. I held Dimitri, blood dripping from my arm, till Paul cuffed him, his grey coat shredded, eyes burning hate. Cops flooded in behind, storm-soaked and shouting, hauling bodies and wrecks away. Paul grinned, clapping my good shoulder. "Dimitri's the endgame. Rourke's debt dies with him. You're free." We patched up at a clinic, my shoulder stitched, Dad's knuckles raw, Chloe shaken but whole. Sam laughed through a busted lip. "Next time, I'm charging you rent for this." Back home we crashed, eating cold pizza, the quarry a fading echo. Dimitri's locked deep, his world dust. I'm still here, Saskatoon's mine, job solid, family scarred but close. I walk the pit sometimes, gravel underfoot, and know it I'm Lucas, forged in blood and grit, standing with the ones who stayed. They came, we fought, and I'm still here, unbreakable. That's the line, drawn hard, and I'm not stepping back. A couple of weeks after Dimitri's crew got buried in the quarry dust, Saskatoon slipped back into a rhythm I could almost call peaceful. The logistics job was humming, my crew busting their backs to keep shipments rolling out on time, and I'd earned a quiet respect from the guys, no small thing in a warehouse full of roughnecks. My apartment felt lived in now, with a beat-up guitar Sam swore I'd learned to play, leaning against the wall, and a stack of takeout menus pinned under a magnet on the fridge. Dad was back in Manitoba, tinkering with that boat, and talking about a fishing trip come spring, while Chloe stuck to her diner shifts, sending me pics of pancakes she'd finally nailed. Sam was over every other night, strumming that guitar worse than me, and Paul called once, voice gravelly with exhaustion, saying Dimitri's trial was a slam-dunk life, without a whisper of parole. I let myself sink into it, the steady days, the crisp air off the river, thinking maybe the fight was finally behind me. That thought blew apart on a snowy Monday morning. I was shoveling the walkway outside my building, breath fogging in the cold, when a kid maybe 16, scrawny in a too-big coat, darted up, eyes wide. "You Lucas?" he asked, voice cracking. I nodded, shovel pausing, and he shoved a crumpled envelope into my hands before bolting down the street. I ripped it open, snowflakes smudging the ink. You think it's over? Ask your sister about the debt she forgot. 48 hours, 100K, or we take it in pieces. My chest tightened, the words sinking like lead. Chloe again. I stuffed the note in my pocket, scanned the empty block, and ran inside, slamming the door. I called Chloe first, fingers fumbling the keys. She picked up mid-laugh, probably pouring coffee for some regular. Lucas, hey, I cut her off, voice sharp. What debt? Someone's back, saying you owe 'em. 100 grand. Chloe, 2 days. She went dead quiet, then a clatter, her dropping something. I don't... Nick, she stammered. Before he left, he borrowed from some guys, said it was for us, but I didn't know till later. I thought it died with him. I cursed, loud enough she flinched. It didn't. They're here. Get to Dad, now I'm coming. She mumbled a shaky okay and hung up. Paul was next. He answered on the first ring, already tense. What now? I read him the note and he groaned. Nick's debts? Could be anyone loan sharks, old partners. Dimitri's gone, but his stink's still drawing flies. I'll head up, but check Chloe's story fast. Dad picked up right after, mid-rant about a busted motor. Lucas, you all right? I told him the kid, the note, Chloe's panic. Damn it, he growled. I'm picking her up, meeting you halfway. This ends. I grabbed my keys, texted Sam trouble again, grabbed the rifle and hit the road. Snow swirling thick around the truck. I met them at a truck stop outside Prince Albert, halfway to Manitoba, the lot slick with ice. Dad's hatchback rolled in, Chloe in the passenger seat, face pale, clutching a coffee she wasn't drinking. Dad stepped out, hugging me quick, his coat dusted white. She's a mess, he muttered, nodding at her. Says Nick borrowed from some outfit in Toronto. Never told her till it was too late. Chloe climbed out, eyes red. I swear, Lucas, I thought it was over. I didn't know they'd come for us. I handed her the note, watching her read it, tears spilling. They'll kill us, she whispered. I shook my head. Not if we hit first. Sam roared up 10 minutes later, rifle slung over his shoulder, grin tight. Who are we smashing now? I filled him in and he nodded, no questions. Paul's truck pulled in last, tires crunching snow, and he strode over, jacket open despite the cold. Got a lead, he said, breath fogging. Toronto crew Kovacs, small time but brutal. Nick owed 'em for a deal that tanked, and they've been waiting to collect. They're here, Lucas spotted in Saskatoon yesterday. Dad clenched his fists. Let's find 'em. Paul held up a hand. We know where Old Mill, north of town, their hideout. But they'll be armed, expecting you. We piled into Paul's truck. 5 of us crammed tight, the heater blasting. The mill was a crumbling relic off a dirt road, windows smashed, snow piling against rusted walls. We parked a half-mile out, creeping through the trees, wind howling cover for our steps. Paul took point, pistol ready, Sam with the rifle, Dad and I with crowbars. Chloe gripping that pepper spray like a lifeline. Stay behind me, I told her, and she nodded, jaw set. The mill loomed, a light flickering inside, and voices gruff, laughing drifted out. Paul signalled, and we spread Sam and Dad to the back, me and Chloe with Paul at the front. A guy stepped out to smoke, burly, tattooed neck, and Paul moved fast, clubbing his head with the gun butt. He dropped silent, snow swallowing the thud. We slipped in, the mill a maze of rotting beams and stacked crates. Kovac stood in the centre, short and wiry, barking orders at 3 others, 2 with guns, 1 with a machete. Lucas, he called, spotting me, grin splitting his face. Brought the family. Saves me the trip. I stepped forward, crowbar up. Nick's debt's dead, back off. He laughed, pulling a revolver. Too late, kid, pay or bleed. Paul fired first, a shot grazing Kovac's shoulder, and the room erupted. Sam's rifle boomed, dropping machete guy mid-swing, while Dad tackled 1 gunman, crowbar cracking ribs. I charged Kovac, ducking as he shot, the bullet splintering wood behind me. Chloe sprayed pepper spray at the second gunman, his scream cut short by Paul's fist. Kovac swung at me, revolver clipping my jaw, but I rammed the crowbar into his gut, doubling him over. He gasped, swinging wild, and I caught his arm, twisting till the gun fell. Enough, I roared, slamming him to the floor. Sam and Dad pinned their guys, Paul cuffing Kovac as he spat blood, cursing in a language I didn't know. Sirens wailed Paul's backup, rolling in late but loud. Cops swarmed, hauling the crew out, snow crunching under their boots. Paul grinned, wiping sweat. Kovac is the last link Nick's ghost's gone now. We stood there, bruised and breathing hard, Chloe clinging to Dad, Sam laughing like a lunatic. Next time, I'm billing you, he said, slinging the rifle over his shoulder. Back at my place, we crashed Dad cooking bacon, Chloe brewing tea, the mill a raw memory. Kovac's got life, his crew scattered, Paul swearing it was over for real. I'm still here, Saskatoon's home, job steady, family closer than ever. Sam strums that guitar, Dad plans that fishing trip, Chloe bakes without burning the place down. I walk the river some nights, snow in my hair, and feel it I'm Lucas, carved from every fight, rooted with the ones who stayed. They came swinging, and we knocked 'em flat. That's my line in the sand, and I'm holding it. No give left to take. A few weeks after Kovac and his crew got hauled out of that crumbling mill, Saskatoon settled into a groove that felt almost too good to trust. The logistics job was firing on all cylinders, my crew hitting deadlines like champs, and I'd even scored a raise enough to swap my beat-up truck for something with a heater that didn't wheeze. My apartment was a proper sanctuary now, with a shelf of car magazines and a coffee pot I actually remembered to clean. Dad was deep into his boat project back in Manitoba, sending me videos of him swearing at stuck bolts, while Chloe was still flipping pancakes at the diner, texting me goofy selfies with her latest creations. Sam was my constant shadow, crashing on my couch with pizza and playoff games, and Paul checked in from Calgary, voice lighter, saying Kovac's conviction was ironclad, no loose ends left to fray. I let myself relax, soaking in the crisp prairie air, figuring I'd finally earned a stretch of calm. That peace blew up on a foggy Wednesday evening. I was walking home from a late shift, snow dusting the streets, when a car horn blared short, sharp, right behind me. I spun, heart kicking, and saw a beat-up van idling 10 feet back, headlights dim. A guy leaned out the driver's window, thin, unshaven, eyes locked on me. "Lucas, yeah?" he called, voice rough like he smoked too much. I nodded, slow, hands balling into fists. He tossed something, a folded paper, onto the pavement and peeled off, tires spitting slush. I grabbed it, unfolding it under a streetlight. You've got enemies you don't even know. 24 hours, 150K. Or we burn it all down, starting with the old man. My knees buckled, the fog swallowing the van's taillights, and I knew this wasn't over. I bolted home, locking the door, and called Dad first, hands shaking as I dialed. He picked up mid-story about a fish he'd almost landed. "Lucas, what's—" I cut him off, reading the note, voice tight. "Someone's back, Dad. They're targeting you." He went silent, then growled, "Not again. I'm grabbing my stuff, heading to you. Call Chloe." I did, catching her as she clocked out. "Lucas, hey," she chirped, then faltered when I told her. "Oh God, not Dad, I'm coming too." I told them to move fast, stick together, and hung up, dialing Paul next. He answered, already edgy. "What's it now?" I spilled it, the van, the note, the threat. 150 grand, he barked. "That's not small time. Could be a new player. Someone Rourke crossed way back. I'm driving up, stay put till I'm there." Sam banged on my door 5 minutes later, rifle case in tow, eyes wide after my text. "Burn it down? These guys don't mess around," he said. dropping the case and grabbing a beer. What's the move? I paced, note in hand. Wait for Dad and Chloe, then figure out who's behind this. Paul thinks it's old Rourke baggage. Sam nodded, loading the rifle. Whoever it is, they're not getting near us. Dad and Chloe rolled in at midnight, the hatchback rattling hard, snow caked on the hood. Dad hugged me, fierce and quick, while Chloe hovered, clutching her bag. "They mean Dad?" she whispered, and I nodded, showing them the note. Dad's face darkened. "Let 'em try, I'm not going easy." Paul's truck pulled up at 2 a.m., tires crunching ice, and he stormed in, coat dusted white. "Got a name," he said, tossing a file on the table. "Ivan ex-enforcer for a smuggling ring Rourke ran with years ago. Word is Rourke stiffed him on a cut and Ivan's been waiting to cash in. He's in Saskatoon, holed up at a motel off 8th Street. Dad cracked his knuckles. We find him first." Paul shook his head. "He's got a crew, 5, maybe 6, armed heavy. Wants the meat, so we give it, but we stack the deck." Chloe piped up, voice shaky but firm. "I'll help whatever it takes." Sam grinned. "That's the spirit." The note's deadline loomed 24 hours from that van drop, midnight tonight. Paul mapped the motel, a rundown dive with peeling paint and a flickering sign, perfect for a trap. "We go early," he said. "Catch 'em sleeping, force the play." We loaded up Paul's pistol, Sam's rifle, Dad's knife, my crowbar, Chloe with the pepper spray and flare gun from the quarry fight. We hit the road at dusk, fog thick, parking a block out and creeping through back alleys. The motel glowed faintly, a half-dozen cars in the lot, and Ivan's van sat front and center, exhaust puffing like he was waiting. Paul signaled Sam and Dad to the rear, Chloe with me at the side, him taking the front. A guy stepped out, lighting a smoke, and Paul moved, slamming him into the wall, hand over his mouth. "Where's Ivan?" he hissed, and the guy pointed, eyes bulging, to room 12. We slipped closer, Sam kicking the back window in silence, Dad climbing through. I edged Chloe along the wall, flare gun trembling in her grip. The door to 12 burst open, Ivan, broad and scarred, shotgun in hand, flanked by 4 guys with pistols and a chain. "Lucas," he roared, spotting me, "money or the old man's head pick fast." Sam's rifle cracked, a shot punching through a goon's shoulder, and chaos hit. Paul fired, dropping chain guy mid-swing, while Dad leapt from the window, knife sinking into another's leg. I charged Ivan, crowbar clashing against his shotgun barrel as he swung it like a club. Chloe fired the flare, a screaming red arc blinding one guy, and pepper sprayed another till he howled. Ivan roared, slamming me back, shotgun blasting gravel inches from my feet. I rolled, crowbar catching his knee, and he stumbled, firing wild. Paul tackled him, gun to his skull, yelling, "Drop it!" as Dad and Sam pinned the last 2. Sirens wailed Paul's backup, late again, lights cutting the fog. Ivan spat blood, cuffed tight, his crew groaning in the dirt. Cops swarmed, hauling them off, and Paul wiped his brow. Ivan's the last echo, Rourke's sins are paid now. We stood there, panting, snow falling soft, Chloe clinging to Dad, Sam laughing through a bruised jaw. "Next round's on you," he said, slinging the rifle. Back home, we crashed, Dad frying eggs, Chloe brewing tea, the motel a fading blur. Ivan's locked deep, his threats dust. I'm still here. Saskatoon's my ground. Job solid, family stitched tight. Dad's boat's ready, Chloe's pancakes pass muster. Sam strums off key. I walk the streets some nights, snow crunching, and feel it I'm Lucas, built from every brawl, standing with the ones who stuck. They came hard, and we broke 'em. That's my story, carved in ice and grit, and I'm holding it, no cracks left to fill. A few months after Ivan's crew got dragged off in the snowy haze of that motel brawl, Saskatoon started to feel like a city I could claim. without bracing for the next hit. The logistics job was a steady grind, my crew hauling freight like pros, and I'd even splurged on a decent TV. Hockey nights were sharper now, no more fuzzy screens. My apartment was home with a stack of Dad's old fishing lures on the shelf and a coffee mug Chloe painted, crooked but hers. Dad was back in Manitoba, finally launching that boat, sending me pics of him grinning on the lake, while Chloe stuck to her diner gig, texting me about a new guy she was seeing, some quiet cook, nothing like Nick. Sam was my anchor, crashing over with wings and wild tales from his plough runs, and Paul called now and then, voice rough but easy, saying Ivan's lockup was airtight, no echoes left to rattle. I let myself settle, the winter sun low and bright, thinking maybe I'd built something that could last. That dream cracked on a frigid Friday night. I was at the warehouse locking up late, snow swirling thick, when a shadow darted across the lot, fast, low, gone, before I could blink. I froze, keys jangling, and called out, "Who's there?" Nothing but wind, then a scrape metal on metal behind a stack of crates. I edged closer, breath fogging, and found it. A knife stabbed into a pallet, pinning a photo me, Dad, Chloe, and Sam at the river last week, laughing, our faces slashed with black ink. Below, scrawled in jagged letters, "You can't hide, 48 hours, 200K, or we carve you up slow." My gut twisted, the snow swallowing my curse, and I knew this was deeper, darker than anything before. I ran home, boots slipping, and bolted the door, hands shaking as I called Paul. He picked up, mid-sip of something strong. "Lucas, what's I cut in?" Reading the note, voice tight. Knife in a photo, Paul someone new, and they're close. He swore, glass clinking. 200 grand? That's not a grudge, that's a war. Could be offshore. Rourke's old ties ran wide. "I'm coming, but get your people now." Dad answered next, groggy from a nap. "Lucas, you okay?" I told him the shadow, the knife, the threat. "Christ," he growled, "I'm grabbing Chloe. We're there by morning. Stay alive till then." Chloe's voice piped in, panicked. "Lucas, don't go out. I'm scared." I told them to hustle, keep low. Sam burst in 10 minutes later, rifle in hand, eyes wild after my text. "Carve us up? These bastards are nuts," he said, kicking the couch aside to pace. I showed him the photo, the note, and he whistled. "That's personal, someone's been watching." Dad and Chloe rolled in at dawn, the hatchback coughing hard, snow crusted on the tires. Dad hugged me fierce while Chloe clutched her bag, face white. "They're after all of us?" she asked, and I nodded, handing over the slashed picture. Dad's jaw tightened. "No more games, we end this." Paul's truck roared up at noon, slush flying, and he stormed in, coat dusted with ice. "Got a hit," he said, tossing a grainy photo on the table. A guy, mid-40s, sharp suit, cold eyes. Marco Serbian ran dirty cash with Rourke years back. Word is Rourke screwed him on a deal and Marco's been biding time. He's here, Lucas Motel off Circle Drive, big crew. Sam cracked his knuckles. "Let's hit 'em." Paul shook his head. "He's got 10 guys, maybe more, automatic weapons, pros. Wants a meet, so we play it smart." Chloe stepped up, voice steady. "I'll do whatever. Dad's not dying for me." The note's clock was ticking 48 hours from that knife. Tomorrow night. Paul mapped the motel, a squat brick box ringed by empty lots. Perfect for a slaughter. "We go at dusk," he said. "Catch 'em off guard, box 'em in." We loaded up Paul's pistol, Sam's rifle, Dad's knife, my crowbar, Chloe with pepper spray and the flare gun. "Light it if we're screwed," I told her, and she nodded, grip firm. We hit the road, snow falling heavy, parking a half-mile out and trekking through drifts. The motel glowed dim, a dozen cars scattered, Marco's sleek black SUV front and center. Paul took the lead, signaling Sam and Dad to the back, Chloe with me at the side, him at the front. A guy stepped out, lighting a cigar, and Paul dropped him fast, fist to the jaw, silent. We crept closer, Sam smashing a rear window, Dad slipping in. I edged Chloe along the wall, flare gun ready. Room 15's door flew open. Marco, tall and lean, machine pistol in hand, 6 guys spilling out behind, armed heavy. "Lucas!" he barked, voice cutting the wind. "Money or meet your call." I stepped up, crowbar raised. "You're done, walk away." He laughed, spraying bullets into the snow, and the fight crashed loose. Sam's rifle boomed, clipping a guy's arm, and Paul fired, dropping another mid-stride. Dad burst from the window, knife sinking into a thigh, while I charged Marco, crowbar clashing against his gun. Chloe fired the flare, a screaming red streak lighting the lot, blinding 2 goons as she sprayed pepper spray wild. Marco swung, bullets grazing my leg, hot and sharp, but I tackled him, slamming him into the SUV. Sam took out a shooter, Dad wrestled another down, and Paul roared, "Drop it!" as cops swarmed in late, lights blazing, pinning the rest. Marco fought, elbow cracking my ribs, but I held, crowbar to his throat, till Paul cuffed him, his suit torn, eyes feral. "You're dead," he spat, but the cops dragged him off, his crew bleeding in the snow. Paul grinned, wiping blood from his lip. Marco's the end, Rourke's shadows gone for good. We stood, battered, my leg patched, Dad's arm bruised, Chloe shaking but upright. Sam laughed, rifle slung. "Next one's on you, bud." Back home, we crashed, Dad frying bacon, Chloe brewing tea, the motel a fading scar. Marco's locked deep, his empire dust. I'm still here, Saskatoon's mine, job solid, family welded tight. Sam strums, Dad fishes, Chloe dates her cook. I walk the lot some nights, snow crunching, and feel it I'm Lucas, forged in every slug, standing with my crew. They came swinging and we smashed them flat. That's my ground, hard won, and I'm not budging an inch. A couple of months after Marco's crew got hauled off in the snowy chaos of that motel lot, Saskatoon started to feel like a city I could hold on to without expecting a knife in the back. The logistics job was running smooth, my crew clocking in like a well-tuned engine, and I'd even fixed up the apartment with a proper table, no more eating off crates. Dad was back in Manitoba, finally fishing off that boat, sending me pics of walleye he swore I'd never catch, while Chloe stuck to her diner shifts, texting me about her cook boyfriend's latest dish, some pasta thing she said I'd love. Sam was my constant, sprawled on my couch with takeout and playoff bets, and Paul checked in from Calgary, voice steady, saying Marco's conviction was locked tight, no cracks left to slip through. I let myself breathe, the winter sun sharp and clean, thinking maybe I'd finally built a wall high enough to keep the past out. That wall crumbled on a bitter Thursday morning. I was at the warehouse unloading a truck, snow piling up outside, when a guy in a grey parka bumped me hard, too hard, by the loading dock. "Watch it," I snapped, but he kept moving, head down, slipping something into my coat pocket. I fished it out, a folded note, damp from the cold. "You're a ghost who won't stay dead. 36 hours. 250K. Or we take the town piece by piece." My blood ran cold, the wind swallowing my curse, and I scanned the lot, nothing but snow and tire tracks. The guy gone like smoke. I bolted to the office, locked the door, and called Paul, hands shaking as I unfolded the note again. He picked up, mid-conversation with someone. "Lucas, what's—" I cut in, reading it, voice tight. "Someone's back, Paul bigger, meaner. 250 and they're threatening everything." He swore loud and sharp. "That's not a shakedown. That's a blitz." Could be overseas, Rourke's old deals went global. "I'm coming, but get your people safe now," Dad answered next, mid-laugh over breakfast. "Lucas, you good?" I told him the bump, the note, the threat to the whole damn town. "Son of a—" he growled. I'm grabbing Chloe. We're there tonight. Hold tight. Chloe picked up right after, voice bright till I spoke. Lucas, hey! She faltered when I laid it out. The town? Oh God, I'm with Dad. We're coming. I told them to move fast, stay off highways if they could. Sam burst in 10 minutes later, rifle case slung over his shoulder, eyes wide after my text. 250? These guys want a war, he said, kicking a chair aside. I showed him the note and he nodded, grim. They're not touching this place, not while I'm breathing. Dad and Chloe rolled in at dusk, the hatchback skidding on ice, Dad's face hard, Chloe clutching her bag like a shield. The whole town? She whispered, and I handed her the note. Dad's eyes blazed. We stop this here, now. Paul's truck roared up at midnight, snow flying, and he stormed in, coat crusted with frost. Got a name, he said, tossing a blurry photo on the table. A guy, late 50s, slick hair, dead eyes. Gregor Romanian, ran guns with Rourke back in the day. Rourke burned him on a shipment, and Gregor's been waiting to collect big. He's here, Lucas Warehouse District, heavy crew. Sam cracked his neck. Let's roll. Paul held up a hand. He's got 12 guys, maybe more assault rifles, explosives. Wants the meat, so we play it, but we rig it tight. Chloe stepped up, voice firm. I'm in, nobody's taking our home. The note's clock was brutal 36 hours from that dock drop tomorrow night. Paul mapped the district, a sprawl of old factories and rusted silos. A kill zone if we slipped. We hit at dawn, he said. Catch 'em dozing. Turn their trap on 'em. We loaded up Paul's pistol, Sam's rifle, Dad's knife, my crowbar, Chloe with pepper spray, and the flare gun. Light it if we're cornered, I told her, and she nodded. Steady. We rolled out at 4 a.m., snow falling thick, parking a mile out and trekking through drifts. The district loomed, dark and silent, a faint glow pulsing from a warehouse at the edge. Paul took point, signalling Sam and Dad to the rear, Chloe with me at the side, him at the front. A guy stepped out, lighting a smoke, and Paul dropped him fast, fist to the skull, quiet. We slipped in, the warehouse a maze of crates and shadows, voices low, clipped, echoing inside. Gregor stood by a table, broad and scarred, barking orders at 10 guys, rifles slung, one rigging something that looked like a bomb. Lucas, he roared, spotting me, grin wide. Money or ashes, your pick. I stepped forward, crowbar up. You're finished, walk away. He laughed, lifting an AK, and the air exploded. Sam's rifle cracked, dropping a guy mid-step, and Paul fired, clipping another's leg. Dad burst from the back, knife slashing a throat, while I charged Gregor, crowbar smashing against his rifle barrel. Chloe fired the flare, a screaming red arc lighting the room, blinding 2 goons as she sprayed pepper spray wild. Gregor swung, bullets chewing the floor, grazing my arm, hot and sharp, but I tackled him, slamming him into a crate. Sam took out a shooter, Dad wrestled another down, and Paul shouted, "Drop it!" as cops swarmed in late, lights blazing, pinning the rest. Gregor fought, knee cracking my ribs, but I held, crowbar to his neck, till Paul cuffed him, his suit ripped, eyes wild with rage. "You're nothing," he spat, but the cops dragged him off, his crew bleeding on the concrete. Paul grinned, wiping blood from his brow. Gregor's the last domino, Rourke's gone for good. We stood, battered, my arm patched, Dad's hand bruised, Chloe shaking but tall. Sam laughed, rifle slung. Next one's free, eh? Back home, we crashed Dad cooking eggs, Chloe brewing tea, the warehouse a fading bruise. Gregor's locked deep, his threats snowed under. I'm still here. Saskatoon's my turf, job solid, family forged tight. Sam bets on games, Dad catches fish, Chloe cooks with her guy. I walk the district some nights, wind biting, and feel it I'm Lucas, carved from every slug, standing with my pack. They came hard, and we smashed 'em flat. That's my line, drawn in steel, and I'm holding it, no ground left to give. A few weeks after Gregor's crew got hauled off in the snowy wreckage of that warehouse fight, Saskatoon started to feel like a city I could finally call my own. No shadows lurking, no echoes waiting to strike. The logistics job was a steady pulse, my crew running tight and earning me a quiet nod from the boss, enough to snag a new coat that didn't let the wind through. My apartment was a real home now, with a battered armchair Sam dragged in and a stack of Chloe's recipe cards pinned to the fridge. Dad was back in Manitoba, fishing off that boat and sending me videos of him reeling in perch, grinning like a kid, while Chloe stuck to her diner shifts, texting me about her cook boyfriend's latest stew, something with beef she swore I'd taste soon. Sam was my rock, sprawled on my couch with takeout and playoff rants, and Paul checked in from Calgary, voice warm, saying Gregor's lockup was a fortress, nothing left to claw back. I let myself sink into it, the sharp winter light, the hum of normal days, thinking maybe I'd outlasted the storm for good. That hope shattered on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was at the river, tossing stones into the icy current, when a pickup roared up, black mud-streaked, stopping hard 10 yards back. A guy stepped out tall, leather coat, face shadowed under a hood, watching me silent. I squared up, hand on the knife in my pocket, and called out, "What do you want?" He didn't answer, just tossed a metal box into the snow between us and climbed back in, peeling off fast. I grabbed it, cold, biting my fingers, and pried it open, a photo of me, Dad, Chloe, and Sam at the diner last month, burned at the edges, with a note scratched deep into the tin. Last chance, 72 hours, 300K. Or we bury you all alive. My gut dropped, the river swallowing my shout, and I knew this was the end game, bigger than anything before. I ran home, boots pounding, and locked up tight, calling Paul first, voice shaking as I described the box. He picked up, mid-laugh with someone. Lucas, what I cut in, reading the note, breathless. 300 grand, Paul, they're not stopping. He swore, hard. That's a death sentence, not a demand. Could be Cartel Rourke's old web went south, deep south. I'm there tomorrow, get your crew now. Dad answered next, mid-story, about a fish. Lucas, you all right? I told him the pickup, the box, the threat to bury us. Damn it, he growled. I'm grabbing Chloe, we're coming, stay alive. Chloe picked up, voice bright till I spoke. Lucas, hey. She choked when I laid it out. Bury us, I'm with Dad, we're on our way. I told them to move quick, stick to back roads. Sam burst in, rifle in hand, eyes blazing after my text. 300? These guys want blood, he said, kicking the door shut. I showed him the box, the burned photo, and he nodded, grim. They're not touching us, not a chance. Dad and Chloe rolled in at midnight, the hatchback skidding, Dad's face carved with fury, Chloe clutching her bag. They mean it this time, she whispered, and I handed her the tin. Dad's fists clenched. We end this tonight. Paul's truck roared up at dawn, snow flying, and he stormed in, coat crusted with ice. Got a name, he said, tossing a file, a guy, 60s, hawkish face, cold stare. Carlos Mexican, ran dope with Rourke a decade back. Rourke stole a shipment, and Carlos swore revenge. He's here, Lucas old rail yard, big crew, explosives. Sam grinned, dark, let's blow 'em back. Paul shook his head. He's got 20 guys, machine guns, grenades. Wants the meat, so we give it, but we bring hell. Chloe stepped up, voice steady. I'm in, nobody buries my family. The note's clock was merciless 72 hours from that river drop, Tuesday night. Paul mapped the yard, a sprawl of rusted tracks and derelict cars. A slaughterhouse if we misstepped. We hit at dusk, he said. Catch 'em prepping, turn it on 'em. We loaded up Paul's pistol, Sam's rifle, Dad's knife, my crowbar, Chloe with pepper spray, and the flare gun. Light it if we're done, I told her, and she nodded. Fierce. We rolled out at 5 p.m., snow falling thick, parking a mile off and trekking through drifts. The yard loomed, dark and jagged, voices sharp, Spanish cutting the wind. Paul led, signalling Sam and Dad to the rear, Chloe with me at the side, him at the front. A guy stepped out, lighting a cigar, and Paul dropped him fast, fist to the jaw, silent. We slipped in, the yard a maze of rust and shadows, Carlos by a rail car, barking orders at 15 guys, rifles slung, 2 rigging bombs. Lucas, he roared, spotting me, grin wide. Money or graves choose. I stepped up, crowbar raised. You're dead already, run. He laughed, tossing a grenade my way, and the world erupted. Sam's rifle boomed, dropping a guy mid-throw, and Paul fired, clipping another's chest. Dad burst from the back, knife slashing a throat, while I dove, grenade blasting snow 10 feet off, ears ringing. Chloe fired the flare, a screaming red arc lighting the yard, blinding 3 goons as she sprayed pepper spray wild. Carlos swung, machine gun spitting, bullets grazing my thigh, hot and sharp, but I tackled him, crowbar cracking his ribs. Sam took out a shooter, Dad wrestled a bomber down, and Paul shouted, "Drop it!" As cops swarmed late, lights blazing, pinning the rest. Carlos fought, fist smashing my jaw, but I held crowbar to his throat till Paul cuffed him, his coat torn, eyes burning hate. "You'll rot," he spat, but the cops dragged him off, his crew bleeding in the snow. Paul grinned, wiping blood from his lip. Carlos is the last thread Rourke's curse is dust. We stood, broken my leg patched, Dad's arm gashed, Chloe shaking but tall. Sam laughed, rifle slung. Next one's a vacation, eh? Back home, we crashed Dad cooking bacon, Chloe brewing tea, the yard a fading scar. Carlos got life, his empire ash, Paul swearing it was over for real. But Tuesday night, as snow fell soft outside, my phone buzzed, blocked number. I answered, heart pounding. A voice low and slow purred through, "You're a legend, Lucas, too bad legends bleed." "We're watching." The line died and I stared out, snow burying the world, a chill deeper than winter sinking in. I'm still here. Saskatoon's my battleground. Job solid. Family forged in fire. Sam bets on fights. Dad catches perch. Chloe cooks with her guy. I walk the yard some nights, wind howling, and feel it I'm Lucas. Carved from every slug, standing with my blood and bone, they came swinging and we smashed 'em flat. But that voice lingers, a shadow I can't shake. That's my tale, etched in steel and ice, ending with a whisper that promises more a fight I'll meet head on, till the last breath kicks, and I'm still the one standing unbowed, unbreakable.